Oh, my God, Matt Millar. He's got to be scared. 3-2.
Well, isn't that 7 out of 9 for Jacksonville?
They're on a bit of a run. It used to be this imagined run. Now it's a very real thing with them. But I'll get to that in a second. I'm not overly concerned. Another great pitching performance for Florida State. That's good news. But they do fall. No, but rather, Tom, that I'm getting pumped up because we're about to put some requests in here real soon, and I think we have an opportunity to talk to a player this week. It looks like we're moving in that direction. I don't want to jinx it just yet, but I think we're going to have one of the newer members of the Noles joining us on the program, and then from there, I think going into next week, opportunities abound for us to talk to perhaps Tokars, the new quarterbacks coach. We'll talk to him, I hope. Putting a request in for that and some other guys as well. Maybe Adam Fuller, talk about his defense with a lot of challenges ahead of it, given, no Jermaine Johnson. But it's good. The chatter is going to increase here in the next 7 to 10 days. So that's good. I'm really looking forward to it because it was brought up yesterday during the questioning. It's true during headlines. You can't think of a more pivotal year for this staff, certainly, and in many ways for the program. I mean, there's a lot of things that weigh in the balance here, and I think a lot of people are both excited but on edge because they recognize the magnitude of what we're talking with this, with spring on into the fall, and what's the program going to look like? What's the team going to look like? What are the opportunities afoot, and will they take advantage of that? And also the difficulties of a schedule with so many veteran quarterbacks and the need to have your own quarterback step up big time and be a guy that certainly this staff thinks he can be, which is they believe he can be an upper echelon to an elite quarterback in the ACC. If they didn't, they wouldn't have chipped in all in to the middle of the table there. So that's fine. That's fine. I mean, we'll see, right? We'll see. But there's a lot on the line there.
Yeah, today the position previews for Florida State continued on warchant.com. We did the defensive ends, and Austin Cox put that article together. And then Ira and I did a video on that discussing defensive ends. And as we were talking, you discover that, while there aren't a whole lot of headliner names in the defensive end core, potentially Jared Verse leading the way as the star transfer.
Yeah.
This is a critical one. We think that the defense will be better around the pass rush to make this more multiple, maybe offer Adam Fuller some better opportunities to bring pressures because we like the secondary a little bit better finally this year. We like linebacker play a little bit more, certainly with Tatum Bethune coming in. And then you have the veterans in the interior of the defensive line. But this is a critical spring for a lot of players that are on that defensive line to see if they can actually get reps and snaps, or if this coaching staff is going to be looking once again into the transfer portal late spring, early summer to see if you can bring in a mercenary pass rusher that can help you at least in third and obvious. But a lot of reps to be earned at that position group this spring.
Which is another reason why once they start spring practice, and next week we get a chance to watch the climb. No video, I know that. No audio, I don't think either. It's just going to be our observations.
Yeah.
Now, again, these are in essence hardcore workouts is what they are. So there won't be a ton to glean from that, save for so-and-so's athleticism, maybe size, if somebody's added a lot of muscle weight or, whatever that might be. But beyond that, it's just, hardcore workouts and relative commitments to them or not, right? That we'll get a chance to talk about that. But that's just a precursor to get you moving towards the start of spring football. Last night on the Diamond, the Noles lose to host Jacksonville 3-2. Florida State had an early lead, 2-0. Ultimately, they fall in this game 3-2 to Jacksonville. It's the road opener. It's interesting to me. I did see way too many strikeouts last night from the heart of the order, and we're on high alert for that. You didn't have that problem over the weekend, but if you're going to overreact to something in a baseball season early in the year, that's what you're going to overreact to. That and errors, but they didn't commit errors, and so they were really good defensively. So far, the check marks in the boxes that you wanted to see, which is high level pitching and depth of, they got it. You wanted to see him pick up the baseball. They got an opportunity last night, and they did. You wanted to see him make more contact over the weekend. Certainly they did. They didn't last night.
No, well, I think it was their first 7 outs were all strikeouts.
Yeah.
So I guess
you run into a guy, and he's rolling, and he did.
So then there's only 7 from there, but, that's still not great because that's 7 of your next 20. A lot of ground balls in the infield, and you're right, a lot of chances to make errors, and they didn't. I thought Rank made a couple of really nice plays.
Really nice plays.
One question I have, and some of them you couldn't see because the camera work last night, that was about the worst.
Shoddy, baby.
That was about the worst thing I've ever seen. But carry on at short. There were a couple of plays where I didn't know if it was based on positioning and shifting or not. But if you've got Rank crossing second base to make throws at first, we need to be a little bit more aggressive here at short, cutting balls off and taking charge, unless, as the cameras weren't able to provide us a full view, we had shifts, and so therefore you're in odd positions. But a lot of work for Rank. That was what the broadcast was joking about last night. It's strikeouts for the Noles and ground balls to second base for Jacksonville. I thought Ballmeister came in and got unlucky to give up the inherited run to tie the ball game, a couple of tappers, but then you could tell clearly that was a start in front of his home crowd, in front of where he played high school, a lot of friends and family, because then it was a little loose from there. But, Jacksonville didn't have a whole lot of hard hit balls through the first 7 or 8 innings of this game. So it was just a really close game. We'd like to see our lineup hit a little bit better.
Yeah, I thought the team, when you talk about defense, again, I'm going to be watching. Are you picking up the baseball? It's my biggest bugaboo the last several years, coupled with poor base running, which has been a problem early in the season. Poor base running has been an issue. But I will say this again. You mentioned Jordan Carrion making his debut. Missed the opening weekend. To get a chance to see him is good. Offensively, obviously, he got a hit, stole a base, scored a run. That's good to see. And then, of course, that moved Trayton Rank over to second base, and he had 9 assists. And to your point, they were like, well, that's too shy of the record for FSU in a game. Yeah.
One of the plays was, a bang play at first base where he makes the throw on the other side of second, that's impressive, but do we need that? And that's where we'll see. I thought also last night that Alex Terrell was ready to just beat the home plate umpire with his bat, because the outside part of the zone, talking about 6 inches off the plate, was wide open all night for him. It was in his final at bat that he about lost it. I thought he was going to get run for a half a second, and he cooled down. But one at bat that he had, I think it was the second of the game, where you take outer half, breaking ball outer half, no swings, 3 up, 3 down. What are we doing? We need to get a little bit better there, a little bit more discipline. I know it's a midweek game, but let's go, guys.
Well, so what happens with baseball, and you get underway and you're just looking for context clues? You can't say that the sample size is so small early in a season. So a guy could start, in theory, like Reese Albert. You could all of a sudden be you could be batting 700. Are you going to bat 700? Of course you're not going to bat 700. But what do you glean from that? Well, good patient at bats, competitive at bats, working the count to your favor. Free in his case, coming off of the better part of 2 years worth of injury. Is the power back? Is the free swing back? Is the shoulder healthy? The answer is yes. Looks good. So that's something you can look. That's a context clue. We don't know how his year is going to go. We just know he's in a nice position to succeed. Other kids, you're looking at stuff, right? Maybe you have a good outing, maybe you don't. What's your stuff? You got stuff that misses bats? You're gonna, if you gain your composure, which maybe you don't have early in the year, you're not used to it yet. Do you have good enough stuff to get people out? Well, the answer has been a resounding yes for the vast majority of the pitchers we've seen Florida State put on the mound. So a lot of good signs there. We'll see. They struck out too much last night. Could have been a guy last night for Jacksonville that just is going to have a great year. We'll see. We don't know.
One thing about Reese Albert, context clue, wasn't his hit. It was the earlier bat in his RBI, the sac fly. That's an emergency hack with 2 strikes, runner on third, less than 2 outs, that gets out to the outfield and scores a run. If you've got the bat speed to go, let me get it out over the plate, and the power to get it out to deep enough into the outfield to score a run, that tells me that the health is there, because that's about instinct and strength. Remember, when we were back in Baton Rouge a couple of years ago, it was just academic that if anything was at the letters or higher, he wasn't going to catch up to it. It's good to see that emergency instinct bat speed is there. But again, long season, long way to go.
So I know that most of you probably would never want this to be in a lead, but I just cannot believe what we're seeing from one of the preeminent sports figures across all platforms, if you will. In the ruination of a reputation and a career, all self-inflicted. It is unbelievable what has happened with Phil Mickelson in the last 48 hours, at least if you're talking, Tom, about the public's awareness of a much deeper issue that has been burgeoning under the surface for over a year. And now a lot of this is coming to the forefront. And I will just say this about that. And later on in the show, I'm not going to do it here in the lead, but later on the show, I will say we're just now, and it's hard to believe this, I think, scratching the surface. He's got real issues. And when we talk about maybe, I don't know, transcendent is too strong a word for Phil, but he is one of the preeminent golfers of the last 50 years. If Tiger Woods didn't exist, and he does, but if he didn't, we would be talking a lot more about Phil Mickelson's illustrious career. It is already an amazing career. It is a top 20 career, top 10 career in the history of the game. So anybody that falls within that category, top 10 basketball player of all time, top 10, maybe it's an agreed upon figure of the top 20 football players. Like Jerry Rice, a lot of times would be said to be the greatest receiver of all time. I always think it's very difficult, especially as we cross eras and the style of game and the rules changes and all that. But I think if you polled anybody that was 18 years old and 80 years old, and they all have watched a lot of football and they've done their homework, you'd say Jerry Rice is in that top 20 category. And if you do this across all sports, consensus, you would find that Willie Mays is one of the top baseball players of all time. Everybody agrees with that. Phil Mickelson falls in the category, and his career is in essence over as we sit here today for what he's done. And it's crazy to have done it to get in bed with a murderous regime for more money. That's insane. It's insane. So if you haven't educated yourself on that story, I'll touch on it later, but his apology rang very hollow, and now he's even more trouble. And oh, by the way, there's a book coming, and there's a lot more information coming down the pike, and it's just not shaping up well for Phil Mickelson.
No, it's on a deeper level than this, but for those of you that TLDR with golf, right, don't really care. Okay, well, you've seen Tin Cup, probably. Don Johnson's character, Sims, right? Finally, the world is starting to see that Phil is more that guy than Mr. Touchy-feely kind of, Mickey Mouse type, where it's like, oh, anybody better than Phil? Can people be that nice? Can we just have that kind of a nice person that we walk across the street and say hello to? No, that's not who Phil is. It's not who he ever was. He's the guy that you're learning about right now.
Well, and I think the hard part here is that, okay, if you had come to me years ago and said, look, that persona, that aw shucks, thanks so much, folks, for coming out to watch the golf tournament today. So honored to have you here. I play for you, the fans. Thanks for helping pay our salaries. If you had told me that was all fake, I'd have said, fine. Okay, I think there are probably a lot of guys like that who smile, shake hands, and you know what? That's okay. That's all right, because I saw it up close and personal. I've been to Sawgrass numerous times and sat there on 17 as he walked and gave little kids golf balls on his way to the green and shook hands with their fathers and said, thanks for coming out. Hope she plays someday on the tour. That kind of a thing. It doesn't matter if that's fake, because to that little girl, it's a lifetime memory. And to that dad, it's the greatest thing that could have happened. What matters is if you're more than surface level fake, you're a bad person. You're perhaps immoral, unethical, greedy, and worse yet, conniving in a way in which you're seeking to sabotage the very thing that made you ungodly rich. So I find that a little bit more unsettling, and that's where this is headed. That's where this is headed, and it's gotten to be kind of alarming in a way that I don't think any of us could have guessed. I could have guessed that he faked the handshakes and the smiles, Tom. I don't know that I would have guessed that he'd betray his countrymen. I mean, it's kind of bizarre to get this far deep in the weeds, if you will.
I'll find the line, but he says something about the fans and taking the time to interact with fans in the statement. So that's where this
PR firm's making an appearance.
No, but he's bringing the receipt saying, see, look at what I've done with the fans.
Oh, sure.
So that tells you, as it was happening, what he was doing. He's like, well, this is smart. I'm going to build up equity in case I need it. And it's not enough to save him this time. There's not enough equity in the world to save him reputationally from what's going on right now. But that gives you an insight into his mind that was the point of handing the golf ball to the little girl and say, I hope you play someday. It was about, good, another point for me, another point for me. Well done by me.
So it's weird to me, again, to learn more and more about this and to have this conversation, because it's when you know how we've done the Jeff Cameron Show PR firm in football and basketball and baseball and sports all across the gamut and had fun with it. And usually it's something absurd, like the inability to admit a mistake or a fault or a downright transgression, where, like, if you're Tiger Woods and you do what he did in that moment, okay, so that's an infidelity. People forgive that, right? Even if it's an over-the-top infidelity like his. And you're like, well, that's certainly interesting. Had he come out and not been willing to say, I did those things, I'm sorry, then we would have been like, oh, from a PR standpoint, that's not it, baby. You're going to have to own this because the goods are here. It's, your texts, we've got them. It's all there. The photos, the women, they've all come out. But he didn't do that. And you could have thought it was clunky, and it was. And there were a lot of factors to that. This is worse yet. This is way worse yet. There's a manipulation here that seeks to sabotage the entirety of the tour and for his personal gain.
Well, what he's doing is what Aaron Rodgers does that turns everybody off. Because Aaron Rodgers, these guys are all,
the martyr?
Is it him, Ryan Braun, and Phil Mickelson going out and golfing on the weekends and saying, we're so much smarter than everybody else?
Right.
Wait till you see these idiots eat up a statement I'm about to release, because they all do it.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you bring up the NFL right now. It's an interesting time. We're getting close to where we start talking about combines and drafts and everything else. Why is there, and I get the obsession with the elite level quarterback play, because the game centers around the quarterback now more than it ever has. And it was always a quarterback driven league, but it's over the top now because of the rules changes. ESPN spends 12 hours of their I guess content driven daytime television stuff, like from the time you leave in the morning to go to work and do your job to the time you get home. That whole block in the middle, if you can stomach it, if you ever have a day off and you're flipping around and it's on in the background, white noise, whatever that might be, they spend the vast majority of that time arguing about where Aaron Rodgers is going to play, or if or not he is going to play. And I find that bizarre.
Oddly enough, I think that's brilliant. Get Up has clearly decided that they're not going to be a recap show of the night before. You can go find SportsCenter for that. And so therefore it's going to be the quarterback show. We're going to talk about quarterbacks. And then First Take After is going to talk about NBA drama and legacies of KD or LeBron or whoever. Yeah. So these are our 4 hours. We got 2 hours of quarterback talk, and we got 2 hours of NBA legacy talk.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to have for you every day. But I find myself engaging in that conversation for quarterbacks because we are in a rare place in NFL offseason lore where the last 2 years, and now this year also, you have a quarterback carousel with players who were at or near their prime consistently. That didn't happen for a long time. It was once their rookie deal is over, how much are they going to sign for? They're going to break records. They're entrenched where they are. Brady didn't go anywhere for 20 years. Breeze for 15.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger, Rodgers, they were all entrenched where they were. Brett Favre did a long time ago, like whatever that was, 07, 08, somewhere in there. But there hasn't been this type of consistent churning in the offseason of big names going different places.
Well, I find that fascinating, and it's good, I think, in a way, if you're just talking about entertainment value for the league, and it's another way that they stay on the tip of your tongue year-round. And they've been very good at engineering that and making sure they supply storylines like that. And I think oftentimes they do, in fact, supply those storylines. But I think in regards to specifically Aaron Rodgers, it's nauseating because will he or will he not play is sort of who cares? Like, if he plays, he plays. How many times are you going to go over that?
Well, the conclusion of the segment is, and of course, his deadline is March 4th or whatever it is. That's a league deadline. So, I mean, these decisions are being made right now as we speak. They're not really.
Yeah, it's the 23rd.
They're not really being made right now. They're being pondered, maybe, but not every day at this time.
Crazy. Jeff Cameron, Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
When some slithery, slimy something shows up uninvited in my home, I want it gone now. Not next Tuesday, not tomorrow. Today. Pretty sure I'm not sleeping knowing that thing is crawling around in my house. That's why I call Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Here in Tallahassee, Paul's guarantees same-day service if I call before 1. Ants, roaches, mice, wasps, fleas, whatever it is, Paul's responds with guaranteed same-day service. Pretty sure I've never heard that from any other pest company. Guess that's an advantage to being a locally owned and operated company like Paul's Termite and Pest Control. They're here and make things happen fast.
We at Paul's know when you have some pest or rodent in your home, you want it out now. That's why in Tallahassee, we guarantee same-day service. You call us before 1, we'll be there before 5, guaranteed. That's our commitment to you. The health and protection of North Florida friends and neighbors is the reason we love our jobs.
For the elimination of termites or any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too.
Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Learn more at callpauls.com.
While other gun stores come and go, Red Hills Arms remains Tallahassee's go-to local gun store for all your firearms needs. At Red Hills Arms, they're right on target. Stop by today and get welcomed in like family.
The all-new Smitty's Tap House and Grill is now open. Smitty's reflects a deep appreciation for fine craft beers and tasty bar treats, with family recipes handcrafted by Smitty himself. Try the house-made giant pretzels, made from scratch mozzarella sticks, and some of the best cheesesteaks you've ever had. We're not even scratching the surface on what Smitty's Tap House and Grill has to offer, so be sure to visit Smitty'sTapHouse.com to check out the full menu. Smitty's Tap House and Grill on Thomasville Road, just north of Cary Forest Parkway.
Siri, tell me a joke.
The past, present, and future walk into a bar.
It was tense.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
This is Susan Gage with good news for homeowners. If you bought a home in Leon County last year, you may qualify for homestead exemption, but you need to file by March 1st. Leon County property appraiser Akin Akinyemi says there are many ways to file.
File online, by mail, at our office.
Remember, the deadline is March 1st. Visit leonpa.org or call 850-606-6200.
You can save hundreds of dollars on your property taxes.
Refreshing and simple. 2 words you don't hear many people use to describe their experience going through the process of getting a home loan. That's what puts the Hamilton Home Loans experience in a category all their own. If you're buying or refinancing a home, Hamilton Home Loans will provide a personalized mortgage experience that is dedicated to making the process refreshingly simple. It all begins with an initial consultation with an experienced Hamilton Home Loans advisor to find out what your goals are in order to find the right mortgage to suit your specific needs. Then, your personal home loan advisor will take you through all the steps from application, underwriting, approval, and closing, all the way to the front steps of your new home. Once you've experienced the Hamilton Home Loan process, you can be a customer for life and never have to pay lender fees again. For first responders, nurses, physician assistants, teachers, active and retired military, ask about the Hamilton for Heroes program. Personalized attention with your needs put first. Now that's refreshingly simple. Find out more at HamiltonHomeLoans.com. That's HamiltonHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 200719.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Position previews wise for the upcoming spring practices. When you go through and look at a group that loses obviously very, very talented and at times dominant players like Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas from a year ago, it's daunting. It really is. But you also think about how amazing it is, at least in terms of either persuasion, evaluation. You think about how amazing it is that those guys transferred in, that those guys came in 2021, that this was not a group that you brought in that arrived on campus because you had a chance to talk to them in high school and groom that relationship or anything like that. It's that you won them over in a transfer market now, which tends to take up more space on your roster in terms of personnel than ever before. We know that. And in this case for Florida State, it's been a necessity. And now, though, you turn and look to guys that were brought here as recruits and have had time to build within the culture. And I really have a lot of high hopes for a Derek McClendon or a Kayshawn Fuller and guys like that, right? I mean, I do have hopes that those kinds of guys will have a chance to play at a high level, to go along with a transfer like Jared Verse, whom we alluded to at the outset. I mean, that was a guy that everybody wanted to bring in from the transfer portal, and we won his services. So I don't know that it would be probably too much to ask. Hopefully he proves me wrong. It would certainly be too much to ask that Jared Verse be Jermaine Johnson. It doesn't have to be, but would need to be a plus player. That's for sure right off the bat.
And the question is with Dennis Briggs, who has a
Coming
bigger
off an
body.
injury,
Coming off of injury, and he was playing interior, but originally he was thought to be an edge player. Can he be a plug and play in Keir Thomas role? Because he has the weight to do it. but it's just those raw numbers. The raw numbers of what
That's
those two
unbelievable.
produced last year are absurd.
Top 10 national in several categories.
18 and a half sacks, 30 tackles for loss. You ready for this number? 112 tackles.
Yeah.
For two ends, 112 tackles. That is insane. There's no way you're going to duplicate that with just two people. It's going to need to be strength in numbers.
Yeah, you're right. We talk about Verse, but Briggs Jr. and, of course, McClendon and Fuller. And they're going to need a lot of guys to, improve immensely, and I think there's real chance. Briggs just has to show that he's fresh off that injury and fully strong, healthy, and back to his full strength, because he's a real good football player, and you could see that. That's why I got so angry, not just because I thought it was a cheap shot, which it was, and I'll circle Louisville for when we go play, not advocating anything, just saying. But it was a really cheap shot. But he was emerging when he got hurt, and I just hope that does not slow the progress of a kid who I think was going to be a real impact player. And I know they think that too. So it'll be interesting to find out if he can fill that role. Again, you just looking at sheer numbers, it's going to be problematic, Tom, trying to get anything close to that kind of production. Now, you're hoping that it's offset. Now, if they just play well, okay, maybe they don't reach those numbers, but they just play well. You're hoping that with a far more productive group, in particular, a individual who was exactly that at linebacker, then maybe you're finding areas where you can say, okay, so you're going to be less, however many tackles on the season between these two. Is it made up for with this guy who was uber productive at UCF? Do we get something more out of a guy who was emerging a year ago and contributed, but then steps up? He's that much stronger, that much bigger, that much more experienced, and now he's able to maybe exceed your expectation by 5 to 7 tackles. It's here and there where you're adding up the missing numbers from the production of two elite players for you a year ago.
Well, and if you look at that linebacking core, and I see the note in the chat that did happen, Florida State announced academic honorees, and Brendan Gant apparently has been changed to a linebacker. His position switched, so he's moving up into the box. You're going to have another option there that's athletic. But if you have, and let's just say you like Deloach and Tatum Bethune as your two linebackers, well, we return to this age-old question about Amari Gaynor. On a third and obvious situation, now Amari Gaynor is a weapon that you can deploy, and he doesn't have to play a traditional linebacker position. So let's say that Dennis Briggs is somebody you like in neutral downs who can help you stop the run and set the edge. Well, either he can come off the field or shift to the middle and play interior like he did last year. You slot in Amari Gaynor on one side and Verse on the other. The interesting thing is this is not going to be a settled matter even through fall camp, because if you look at the roster distribution, there are 2 dedicated defensive ends on Florida State's roster right now. It's McClendon and Leonard Warner, who is 85 years old and still here. You're in the teens with defensive linemen, positionless defensive linemen, and then you've got 5 dedicated defensive tackles. They're going to be moving a ton of bodies around to find what packages they like in certain down and distances.
And they like really, really athletic guys along the defensive front as opposed to sheer mass. They want active, positionless guys that can move around, that can shift inside, but also play outside, depending down distance, those kinds of things. That's what they're looking to do. I don't always love that approach. But if you can build those guys and you can identify those guys who are that kind of versatile, then fine, because that's a headache to deal with. That it really is for opposing offensive lines. If you can do it, I think it's hard. I mean, some of the plug and play, I think, realities of a 330-pound guy who stays low and plays with leverage. I know what you are. You're 0. That's good. I'm put you right there and we'll take care of business. I tend to lean in that direction. If he gives you anything more than that, that's great. But it's hard to find a lot of V of A's out there. But so the point is, typically that's the way I'd like to build it. But when you're FSU and you haven't had access to the upper echelon defensive linemen around the country because you've been out recruited, because your program isn't where it ought to be, it's not operating at peak efficiency, as we like to say, you got to find a better way to do it. And if molding guys to be that kind of versatile is the way you got to do it, then so be it. And I'm not going to say they can't. I'm not going to say that. Now, there'll be problems with that when you face some of the bigger offensive lines with veteran leadership up front that can run downhill. But not everybody's that way, and you're just trying to get to 8-9 wins, so maybe it works. It's a big question mark. I am fascinated to find out what they do with some of these players that are tweeners. And, you brought up Amari Gaynor, and I'm rooting for that young man because I think he cares deeply. I've had the chance to talk to him before. I'm not saying we're friends, but I've had a chance to talk to him. And, God, you stand next to him, and you think, you look the part. You ought to be a really a game-changing player. He really hasn't been a game-changing player. Hasn't been a bad player. Hasn't been a bad player. Just hasn't been a difference maker for this football team. Is this a year where he's a little bit tougher, a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and you're able to get a little bit more out of him in a very specific role? I don't know that he needs to be Mr. Versatility. I'd like him to zero in on a thing.
I think the best news for us is that the defensive interior returns 2 starters that we thought potentially were both going to be gone because there's a lot of instability around it. There's a lot of instability around it and how you want to build it. But if you've got that middle of the field close to the football all taken care of, at least if health is on your side and these guys don't regress. We once counted on Marvin Wilson to finish the job when he came back for next year. But if these guys live up to those expectations, then at least you have that settled and you can mix and match as you go. Because if it was that those 2 guys, a situation in which those 2 guys left, if it was a different, then we would be
nice use.
We would be in real trouble right now because this is a mess. I don't even know you're starting 4.
Well, I actually thought we were going to be in that very predicament, Tom. And late in the year, as we were watching the games play out, I remember thinking at one point, well, damn it, man, how unlucky are you? And thinking about Coach Norvell, I'm like, you found a way to put a salve on the wound. You correctly identified 2 guys that could change your fortune up front and convince them to come to Florida State. And he's been very good at that when it comes to transfer portal guys. But those guys are leaving. And at the time, I thought so were the others. And I thought, okay, your offense is probably going to be appreciably better with what you're bringing in at wide receiver. What you have on the offensive line finally, which is not just a group that I think can rate as average or maybe even slightly above average next year, but one that has a couple of guys behind the starters that have the versatility to plug and play, and you won't see a precipitous drop-off when somebody's out with injury the way you have the last several years, handful of years. So all of a sudden you got better depth on the offensive line. You have real experience, at least for your starting quarterback. You bring in the transfer portal more dynamic and experienced wide receivers. At least one guy has proven it at the Power 5 level. And I thought, okay, so all right, another year in the system, another guy. Listen, Cam McDonald comes back. He's whatever, but he is certainly experienced. He's your most productive tight end. Now, they got to get something out of Jackson West next year. I know they have 47 tight ends and none of them can play, but maybe Jackson West takes a step forward.
Can one of you be a fullback at least?
One of you not suck. But the bottom line is, you can get a better offense in play right at the time that your defense is going to fall off a cliff. And it wasn't great to begin with because they spent half the season being terrible. So then we got the good news that a couple guys said, I'm coming back. And I went, oh, all right. That's a little bit more productivity that is coming back and said yes to returning than I thought we were going to have, which may help mitigate the drop-off. They're going to drop off. I do not think this defense is going to be as good as it was in the second half of the season this past year. Just don't think it will be. But because you can't lose Garrett Thomas and Jermaine Johnson and be better. You can't. You can't. Not unless you brought in somebody who is,
Now, that's interesting. Can you be at the same level, though?
No, I don't think so.
They
were so good, Tom. You just got done talking about the
numbers.
They're over the top. They disrupted games. They're the reason that we had opportunities to win some of the games against teams that otherwise outmatched us and certainly had a greater depth of talent than us. Those 2 guys in particular, Jermaine, at times single-handedly extinguished drives for teams because of how disruptive he was. If you do not have that sort of dynamicism coming into this season, no, you're not going to be better defensively than you were a year ago.
Well, I could see that as an obvious place to go. But if you believe that you're going to be better at outside corner because you're going to replace one of those guys with Amarian, and maybe both of them with Amarian and Noles, and you do something in the slot, either move Brownlee or Jarion Jones there, and you play around with the safeties group, I think you're better at corner and safety automatically right then. Linebacker, you're better because you've got a player.
By one guy, but yes.
We only play 2 of them at a time.
Yeah, let's knock on wood, man. I don't think we have any real depth there, but okay.
Right. Well, yes, agreed. But I think with Gaynor playing traditional linebacker, he was tackling better at the end of the year. So now if you're
He
asking
was.
him not
He
to
was.
be out there all the damn time, that's probably better.
Mhm.
Interior, you should be the same or better because you have the same guys returning, and then there should be development behind them. So you should be deeper at defensive interior. So if you're better in all those positions and you're trying to net out what are your gains and losses, it's massive loss at defensive end. I grant you.
Massive.
But if you get one answer there, you don't need both of them to elevate to the level of Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas. But if you get one answer there, are you net better because of the depth you've created and the overall ability in the secondary?
Those other guys aren't difference makers, though, and we are rid of two real difference makers, guys that are game-changing, impact-having players. Those are hard to find, and we've had such a dearth of those players for too long now, and it has to do with being down and missing on recruiting and all those things. But I just think if you talk about guys that change games, great offensive players, a guy like Dalvin Cook can really make up for an awful lot of what's missing on your offensive line, at quarterback, at wide receiver, just by being that kind of difference maker, setting up runs, making guys miss in a phone booth, breakaway speed, changes the scoreboard, right? Like, you're not good, but let's just say, by using that example, you improved your offensive line, added a tight end, but lost Dalvin Cook. Would you be better? No. Jermaine Johnson was that good last year. He was that good. We may be better, and I think you're right about those positions. But do we have a difference maker? Do we have a guy that changes the game?
What it forces you to do is bring an extra player. You bring an extra rusher. You got to blitz. You got to get a little bit more creative in those situations. And then you've got to be able to hold up on the back end. So the question is, can we hold up on the back end if we bring a fifth or sixth guy?
Well, and also, how creative are you with what you bring when you bring pressure? We've been really predictable. We haven't gotten home. That's a bugaboo that dates back before Fuller. So that anchors me at a lot of levels, because we announce to the world front sometimes that we're coming, but there's no real chance we're going to get there. And now it is really easy to throw from whence you came, and we get burned on that a lot.
It's a lot of pressure on Verse to deliver right away. And he's got 3 years of eligibility. People are going to be pissed at him if he doesn't produce at the end of September. It's like, whoa, he's actually a developmental project here that has ability. It's not the same thing as a grad transfer who is looking for one last ride before cashing in at the NFL. These are two different scenarios.
The good news for us, though, is there is no shortage of work ethic and focus. So to me, and we're hoping to talk to Jared Verse this week, but for me, and I know we got to get a break, if you've got a kid who is talented but also thirsty, is a kid that desperately wants to be coached hard, be made better, and is willing to commit to the kind of sacrifice, both mentally and physically, that has to be made to get to that elite level. And he's talked about it. So I'm not just spitting out cliches. He's referenced those things. So clearly the focus is there, and the want to is there, and the effort's going to be there. So, you got hope that if he's middling this year, doesn't help you for this season, as long as he's not bad. It doesn't change the game, I should say, for this season. As long as he's not terrible, and the work ethic's there, and you see the growth throughout the course of the season, okay, all right, you'll live with that. You'll live with that. But you're right. Most people will be like, this. What? Good luck replacing Jermaine Johnson is my point.
Yeah, don't. Why are you bringing that way? Or else you're just going to be so pissed at what he is, and that's not fair. Not at all.
Jeff Kemper Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
News now.
An alert was issued in an officer-involved incident in Taylor County late Tuesday night. Gregory Ryan Medema was wanted by law enforcement. A Taylor County Sheriff's deputy was shot. The deputy sustained serious injuries and was airlifted from the scene. A blue alert is issued if a law enforcement officer is seriously injured, killed by a suspect, or becomes missing while in the line of duty under circumstances causing concern for the law enforcement officer's safety. Medema, a white 33-year-old male, was last seen in the area of US 19 South Deer Run Road in Perry. If you see him or know of his whereabouts, contact the police. Through the Rural Infrastructure Fund and the Community Development Block Grant Program operated by the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, Governor Ron DeSantis awarded around $11 million to support infrastructure in Madison, Suwannee, and Putnam counties. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. High temperatures reach up to 82 this afternoon under mainly clear skies, southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, lows level off around 59. A mix of clouds and sun. Tomorrow, highs around 83. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Friday, with daytime highs approaching 83. 80 Saturday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 79.
This is Kyle, service manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry bucks to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186. Live and living color and totally free. Subscribe to Warchant TV on YouTube, the digital home of Warchant.com. From the practice field to pregame and the phone calls afterwards, Warchant's YouTube channel is home to live programming like Seminole Headlines, Wake Up Warchant, The Jeff Cameron Show, as well as Trench Talk, a live Q&A with Noles offensive lineman Devontae Love-Taylor. Just search Warchant on YouTube and click or tap the subscribe button. That's it. It's totally free. Warchant TV on YouTube. Just another reason we're the ultimate Seminole sports source.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
A woman only identified as Mrs. Wong posted on Chinese social media she had gotten locked down after a first blind date. She discovered that their date's community had gone into swift lockdown after visiting his house for a meal.
This absolutely has to become a romantic comedy. Lockdown Love. He was looking for Mrs. Right, but he found Mrs. Wong.
Lockdown. Starring Matthew McConaughey. All right.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
To do our efforts at Warchant.com, the Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV by saying, hey, go Noles, and wish you gentlemen in the studio a wonderful day. Well, I wish you a wonderful day too, Marcus. Woo! Hope you're having a great one. We've been fortunate. You know, Tom, the one thing about having your blood thin as you get old, live in the South, and all of a sudden what's cold to you now isn't 25 but 40 is the fact that the reverse is true too, man. Used to be anything over 72 was hot. Now 80 is comfy. I like 80. I'm fine with 80.
That's so weird. Yeah, because you get over 70. I mean, if it's 74, remember old Channel 17? And it would just be there. You'd have it on in your old studio.
Yeah.
You'd want to punch a certain part of your anatomy.
Oh, I'd get angry. I'd get angry. Anything over 70.
Ridiculous.
Anything over 75.
It's February.
Yeah. Well, that still does bother me. I mean, like, I'm okay wrapping my mind around the idea that it's supposed to be cold in wintertime. That's all right. I get it. It's kind of important for lots of reasons. But as somebody who does like to swing a golf club every now and again, if you want to give me 81, 78 on in a sunny, breezy, not too breezy, Wednesday afternoon in February, all right then.
Yeah.
All right then.
I suppose I'll be redundant with the weather reports we have in the break, but it's 83 today, tomorrow, 84 Friday, 81 Saturday.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Monday, 68 though. A little dip down on Monday.
Good. 78's fine. Yeah.
It was 68. You okay with that?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, real good with 68. Yeah, I'm good, man. We're all right. Don't you worry about it. Go see my friends if you need a new roof. T-Spark Construction, roofing and construction. They're the best in the business. There are a lot of ways they can help you. I've mentioned that before. I talk about what they provide, which is honest, hard work. Got a plan in place. These guys know what they're doing. They come out, they talk you through it. You're not confused. You got a good feel for who they are and what they're going to provide for you. And look, you don't want to have to replace your roof. I had to replace my roof. T-Spark did it. It sucks. It's part of, home ownership. What are you going to do? Got to replace your roof every now and again, just like your air conditioning with our friends at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning. It sucks. Hey, man, got to change out my hair. Not happy. But if you got to do it, you want trustworthy people who are going to come there and talk to you about it, give you an honest price, honest day's work, get it done efficiently. T-Spark Roofing and Construction do exactly that. And I would encourage you to look them up or give them a call today, 766-1340.
Is it normal to, as a homeowner, hear you talk about that and replacing certain things
all the damn time,
and not want to bring it up because you just don't want to speak it into being. Is that a normal thing?
Well, I do that with a lot of things, right? Don't speak it into being. Don't put it out there into the ether. Don't let the world know that you're worried about it. But I'll tell you that if you are a homeowner, that just goes with it. You just have to accept the fact that this is part of it. Like the other part of it that's good for you is over time, equity builds and you make money on your home sale eventually, if you do it right.
After that old compound interest, no big deal.
You know, I got a lot of work I got to do in my house. We should move on from this subject.
I'm bringing you down, huh?
I just think, well, it's because it never ends. You just think to yourself, well, listen, it's a little bit like being a fan of a team, of a sport, whatever. You know, you win and you want to win more, and then you want to win more, and then ultimately you win the whole thing. But then what? You got to sustain it. Got to sustain that level of greatness. We can't go back down there. I've seen what it's like up here. I don't want to go all the way back down there. That 5 and 7 ain't where it's at, man. I like this 13-0 is what I like.
Funny thing is, as a fan, as you are, of back-to-back reigning Stanley Cup champions in hockey.
Reigning back-to-back.
The thing I enjoy the most is when they go to the highlight shows or whatever, and it's NHL Tonight on NHL Network. It's a channel I have frequently on my television.
Correct, yes.
And at the end, they have to show who the champion is before they go to the studio, and they show the Lightning holding the cup. Like, that's the thing. It's the little things like that that really make winning a championship worthwhile. It's not necessarily racking up 124 points in a regular season. It is when I turn on the TV, there are my guys holding the cup, and I get everybody else around the country and Canada going, damn it, Tampa again? That's the best part.
Those poor bastards in Canada, how long have they been angry?
Since 1993.
Thank you. And it ain't just at us. It's the hockey world that they're angry at. I this past season in the NFL was a lot of fun because it's not just that you go through the season that was a lot of fun preceding it, where you have expectations and there's real drama on the line and what's going to happen, and then you come through and win a championship. It's that you reap the rewards of that year into the next year for the entirety of that year, because no matter on a given weekend whether you win 37-7 or drop one 21-20, you are still the reigning Super Bowl champions, and we'll have that discussion again next week. That is fun. Now, of course, that is no longer the case, as the Rams are your reigning Super Bowl champion, and they get to enjoy that, all 7 of their fans. So there it is, right? But what is also fun about being a champion, and God, we need Florida State to get back to that talking point, or at least to be in the conversation, is that what then happens is, all right, now we're no longer that. What do we have to do to get that and or sustain this? And for Florida State, this climb has taken too long, but it is what has had to happen. There's no getting around that reality. And what we're doing on a daily basis, and every Florida State fan does, probably, if you're a diehard, at least once a day in your mind, whether that's a drive to the store, a honey to-do list that, hey, I got to run up there to the parts store and get this thing for the sink, whatever it might be. You think it because you have time. You got time. You're at the stop. It's 4-way stop. What am I going to do? That guy's got to go. It's his turn. Now I'm thinking. And when I'm doing it, I'm thinking, Jordan Travis gets hurt, we're going to lose 9 games. That's where your head goes. You start rat trapping immediately.
Thanks. I hadn't thought of that yet.
Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Were you sold a lifetime of dream vacations only to get stuck in a timeshare with a lifetime of rising fees, point scams, and lies?
I was completely taken advantage of.
They stole from us. They were thieves.
Chuck McDowell, CEO of Wesley Financial Group, has been fighting and winning battles with timeshare companies for over a decade, canceling over 16,000 timeshares, resulting in $257 million of timeshare debt eliminated.
I believe that it's my job and my duty to help people out of their timeshare if they've been lied to and they've been done wrong.
If it wasn't for Wesley, I would be broke.
Wesley Financial Group has thousands of verified reviews, averaging 4.9 and 5 stars for a reason. They get results.
I guarantee if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
For your free consultation and information kit, call now. 800-969-5511. 800-969-5511. That's 800-969-5511.
Hi, Taco.
Hey, champ. How you doing? Pull up a pillow. Haven't seen you in a couple of days. Hey, something's different about you.
That's right. My people took me to Tally Spay, the affordable spay and neuter clinic on West Tennessee.
Tally Spay? Isn't that the place where they
Yeah, they're a low-cost, high-volume spay-neuter clinic.
So you're saying you've had some work done?
I did. You'd think I'd be depressed, but truth is, I don't even miss them. If anything, I feel more calm. I don't feel like I have to run around looking for company, and my people can leave me alone with the couch cushions.
Hey, I can stop anytime I want.
Tally Spay, a low-cost, high-volume spay-neuter clinic open to the public, serving Tallahassee and the surrounding areas. Tally Spay. For more information and to schedule a same-day surgery and pickup, go to tallyspay.com. That's tallyspay.com.
Are you stumped on who to call for fast and affordable crane and tree service? Deep South Tree Service is a cut above the rest. They go out on a limb for their customers. With the largest crane in the Big Bend area, no job is too tall, no job is too small. Call Rob for a free quote today. 850-877-TREE. That's 877-8733. Deep South Tree Service. Our roots run deep.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Starter for the Pirates prior to pitching for you with the New York Mets. He was a frontline starter that had immense gifts that was said to be a dominant one starter for years to come.
Well, that never happened.
No.
Do you remember
a very specific reliever?
Do you remember who we shipped to you?
Oh, man.
It's a tough name.
No.
Xavier Nady.
Oh, sorry, yes, Xavier Nady.
Yep.
Had, well, about a season and a half of real good Xavier Nady.
He was good for us. We had to give him up because our reliever got in a crash in a cab in Miami.
Xavier Nady had 2 seasons, really, that were absolutely fantastic for us. And I remember thinking, oh, we have fleeced the Mets.
Nobody's ever thought that before.
But alas,
not Bernie Madoff or the Rays.
Yeah, but we did not fleece the Mets. Didn't take. By the way, that was a great baseball name. Xavier Nady's a great baseball name. Really, an underrated baseball name. You can tell I'm longing for them to get it right in Major League Baseball. So soon we have that to add to the many things to talk about, but also because I love the sport. I find myself watching replays of old games on the MLB network lately in the mornings. That's problematic. You really have an issue.
It's kind of tough.
It's a weird thing to do. But I sit down, I get into it. I sip my coffee.
You got a ton
of look at that. Look at this. I remember him. He was a good player.
You got a ton of FSU baseball now, though. I mean, you're loaded up.
Well, and I just think it's going to be fascinating with FSU baseball because they're going to have days like they had yesterday where they strike out too much. Was it 14 times, I think, yesterday? But I don't know that we're going to derive from that game, just like we're not from that 3-game series, to say that that's what the offense is. I think right now the only consistent thing that we have seen for Florida State baseball through 4 games that we could really celebrate is that they've pitched well in every one of them. They've pitched well in every one of them. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron.
Writes, fellas, does the current Miami staff, and I meant to get to this before in the chat, worry you at all? Do you think they will go through a transitional year before getting it together?
So who's their OC? The guy from Pitt, right? Didn't they get the Pitt OC?
No, they got the Michigan OC.
That's what I meant.
And no, I'm not impressed by that at all.
Yeah, all right. Well, there you go. There you go. You're not worried at all. Thank you, James B. though, for the tip. That was mighty kind of you.
Thanks, James B. Yeah, look, I mean, they're definitely throwing money at it. And Mario, I think, is a good coach. I don't think it's going to be an overnight thing. Although we like the quarterback, obviously Van Dyke's really good. But I don't know that. I didn't look at that team and say, okay, 1 year later they're going to be much better. I do think they're going to be, they've got a good staff. They've committed to that. So that should help them, but I don't know how quickly it's going to turn around.
I guess the question is, are
they
they
just
better
got Charlie Strong, the linebackers coach?
Are they better than Florida State currently? Yes, they were better than Florida State last year, and they lost to Florida State. Right. I don't know. Kevin Steele, did he do anything for you? No, not at all. Right? That guy will be trying to take the job of the head coach immediately.
And that's the issue they're going to have there, because that's the trick to so much of this is. Does your staff get along? Is the chemistry good? Do you have people maneuvering behind the scenes?
Or moving in the right direction, all in the same direction?
I think we know what Kevin Steele is.
He might want Mario's job.
No, I'm not. I was so many people, just because they recognize the names, were impressed with the hiring of.
They were going to hire somebody.
Well, right, but neither of those choices made me go, "Oh man, they're really getting it right." I was like, "What? Really? Okay."
Well, Michigan had a good year.
Yeah, and they have the most bland, non-dynamic offense you will ever see. They want to run the ball.
He was the co-OC. We don't even know if he was the brains.
We don't even know he got the right co, right?
Operation. Yeah, like Florida State didn't.
We got the wrong co.
With the Michigan State defensive
I remember yelling that halfway through the season. We got the wrong co. Damn it, man.
Have we gotten Twitter?
I've been plowing through Twitter.
All right.
Why do I get second guessed on this, guys?
I never asked you if you've gotten to Twitter.
My God.
I just,
you have an affinity for Twitter and a thing.
Last week, I feel like they got shorted a little bit.
You think they got shorted?
We need to be on IG or Snapchat.
That's what
have we gotten to our Snapchat questions?
We
yet?
haven't.
Okay.
No. I'm going to go back over here and look at every one of these because I see your prompt, Ira, and then I start from there. I want you to know there's your prompt.
Settle down.
And then I'm going to scroll. Hey, get your hands off. I'm going to palm you. I'm going to palm you.
Palm slap you.
Which means our company gets to use its own money and make its own decisions within its own walls. There's no middleman. This often allows us to get you a better rate on that new home mortgage, saving you monthly and lifelong money. We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Melville Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1335. Bracket NMLS number 65233. Equal housing lender. I license in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, Massachusetts, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Crawfordville Auto and Tire. Oh, hey there. I was just singing the praises of Crawfordville Auto and Tire. They do just about everything. Complete engine rebuilds, brakes, shocks, tires, oil change, you name it, they do it. And they offer a 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty on all parts and labor. Most of the time, they can service your car the same day and offer towing to help you get to the shop. Now that's something to sing about. Open weekdays from 7:30 in the morning until 6 at night. Crawfordville Auto Repair and Tires.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Place. First of all, appreciate that. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let others find the show that way as well. And if you want, find me on Twitter at @JCameronShow. If you're listening on 93.3, thank you for that too. I think you were about to say something. What's up?
Oh, no. I'm just hanging out.
You all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
I thought I missed something. I just glanced over and I saw the corner of my eyes.
What we were talking about, director and I, was we panned down the music and flipped over the audio feed just in time to get the like and subscribe. We were like, nice.
Oh, yeah. You
so
got to
that
get
the people
that.
could actually hear it.
Yeah, the people got to hear that. Like and subscribe. Well, I would think a lot of people have done that. We're doing all right.
Keep doing it.
It's good for us, man. I
create burner accounts and hit subscribe.
Oh, man. I try to find ways, and it's probably not helpful, and I'll get yelled at by our bosses, but I try to find a way to spend less time on the internet, not more time. I would never create a burner account.
Well, that's why you want to subscribe to us, though, because then it's more efficient. You don't have to go hunting for us. It's just right there when you go to YouTube. Boom. So now you can spend fewer minutes on the internet and more time with your kids shooting hoops.
Yay! Hoops shooting. I do that a lot these days. Hey, buddy, yesterday, and I'm not going to turn this into an advertisement. Everybody already knows that I go to Orange Theory Fitness. I climbed the mountain yesterday. I was going, knocking it out, and I kept waiting for the calf to give out on me. It did not. I gunned it up the hill. Was good to go, baby. That
you
is
pronounced
news.
yourself fit for activity.
Well, let's hope, man, because I'll tell you what, injuries when you get up there, man, and you're rapidly approaching your 40s, so you'll see. When it happens, they linger. Your mind knows exactly what you're trying to do, but your body's like, hey, man, we've been doing this for too long. Need to take a little respite. No quick movements here.
So do you know when I dropped that weight on my foot like 6 months ago?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
There's still a red mark there. Still, I guess it's a scar.
They remain permanent, buddy.
That's crazy. That shouldn't be a scar. But I guess when you get
Can't
old,
heal itself.
it doesn't. It just gets to a certain point. It's like, we're done. We're going to spend our resources elsewhere.
But the good news is you gain a ton with all of those years in the way of perspective. So you'll go out there and watch spring football starting next week. Whatever. What was it? How many days?
Spring football starts on March 5th. So it's 2 Saturdays.
2 Saturdays. Okay, yeah, a couple weeks. So you'll go out there with a nice balance to your viewing habits. You'll understand that all of the world's problems, in this case, Florida State's problems, are not going to be solved in a singular practice or a singular viewing of spring football. They'll have a bad day, and you'll go, damn it, man, we're not any better. If you're 20, you do that. If you're 40 or 35 or 50, you go, tough day at the office, bad practice. Let's see how they are tomorrow.
Well, in checking the notes, as once that perked up your ears in 2014, I believe it was, got to check my notes. Back in fall camp, the first thing I saw on day one, and I was glad, because sometimes you see things and they're just dead wrong. Like, this guy's going to guy's going to be a player because they're being featured in practice or something. Like, they drew up a ton of plays for Lawrence Toafili last year in fall camp and fall practice.
Yeah,
but then they lost confidence in him, but he bounced back towards the end of the year. So that's why this is
had the great play against Clemson, Tom. We'll always have it.
He did, and he's also explosive enough that if he is confident, I think he can make some plays for this year. But I remember we were focused on Jermaine Johnson as a staff for Warchant, and I said, you know what, guys, not for nothing, Keir Thomas looks okay today. And it ended up being right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
sometimes you can trust your eyes.
Yeah, you have to be able to. Now, a lot of what you have to do, especially in spring, and we did it. I mean, I talked about it in relation to, last night's loss on the diamond to Jacksonville. There's not enough sample size in a singular game, or even 4 baseball games. Baseball games take a lot. You got to get it 10, 15 games into a season before you start making grand pronouncements for baseball, where you start saying, college baseball, it's even longer than that in pro baseball. But in college baseball, it's sort of like, okay, we're about getting close to halfway through the season here. This guy still can't pick up the baseball. This is now a real problem, right?
Yeah, in the pros, it's somewhere between May 15th and Memorial Day.
Right.
You're like, oh, man, they started on a roadie. They're like 3 snow outs because we're on the wrong side of the country.
Right.
This guy never plays well in April anyway. He usually does better when the weather warms up. You have all those excuses. But then you get to Memorial Day, and if you're 8 under 500, you're going, oh, I see. So you're just a disappointment.
You're just not any good.
You're just not good.
You're just not good. You're not going to suddenly turn it around. Although I would argue the Atlanta Braves say nay, because that was a middling-ass team for the vast majority of last year, and then all of a sudden they weren't. Then all of a sudden they were a cannot-be-stopped locomotive in the postseason, and then you got to a point where you went, they're going to win the whole thing.
Now, I always mock them because that's what a good Met would do.
Yeah.
But they were being openly mocked by our broadcast in July. I remember this because
The Braves broadcast.
I had the Mets broadcast was mocking the Braves. I had the Rona, so I watched every pitch when I was laid up with the Rona. And I'm like, guys, you might want to chill out on. They're only 5 games out right now, 6 games out because they played 5 games due to postponements.
Mm-hmm.
And the broadcast was saying, well, I mean, if you win 4 of these, the Brave season's over. I'm like, it's not really.
Not really.
It's not even August.
Not really.
Hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, that was kind of weird. But they didn't show for much of last season any sign that they were going to be the juggernaut they turned out to be. Hey, lest we forget, they went 8-2 in their last 10 games of the regular season so that they could go 88-73. Not exactly a juggernaut. Didn't even get to 90 wins in that division where the next best team was barely over 500 Philadelphia and well below 500 New York Mets, Marlins, and Nats.
But if you look at the record from about August 1 to that point, it's robust considering that Acuna was not a part of the roster. I'm not here to be. I'm not comfortable. I'm arguing.
You're
for the
already
Braves
arguing
way
for
too
it,
much
yeah.
right here. But I mean, they'd gotten it together.
But I'm saying when you go 8-2 over your last 10 to get to 88 wins,
right.
I mean, you had a lot of work to do. There were no real great indicators you were going to be a dominant team. Listen, the Astros were sub 500 for their last 10, and they won 95 games. If we want to go through this, because I just pulled this up, I was kind of curious. By the way, as an aside, and let's hope they play baseball. Good God, man, the San Francisco Giants, is that right? Did they win 107 games last year?
Yeah.
I mean, I knew
they were really good. A lot of guys reaching back into the fountain of youth. Yeah.
107 wins. Holy moly.
Posey had a good year. Longoria for stretches had a really good.
Well, how angry are you that you win 107 games and you win the division by a game over the Dodgers? You're like, what? Really?
Right. You're piecing this whole thing together. And they had a
Right.
bigger lead. The Dodgers almost ran them down. But, yeah, you're piecing this whole thing together. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are like, this guy's out for the season. That's okay. We'll plug and play this dude who hit 30 bombs last year. No big deal. Oh, no, we lost this pitcher. Okay, well, this dude had a 2.20 ERA. Let's go get Max Scherzer. Yeah.
Yeah, the Giants were far and away the most surprising team last year. The next most surprising team in baseball last year were the Seattle Mariners, who won 90 games out of nowhere, at 90-72. And if you looked at them in almost every category, you'd say, they're not any good. How are they 90-72? They were minus 51 in run differential. How the hell has this team got a winning record, let alone win 90 games?
It's because they were doing what I said Florida State basketball needed to do was
win all the 1-point games.
Anytime you're in a close one, you better win that one.
You and I didn't get a chance to talk about the abomination of the game the other night against Boston College.
I'll be back in a little bit.
Yeah, because let me tell you, this is a different kind of ugly. That's a different kind of ugly. Even and it was akin to the North Carolina game. And we thought because in between the North Carolina game and the Boston College game was a really good effort, a pretty sound offensive effort, especially on the road against a good Duke team who had what for as they stepped on the court, having lost to Florida State earlier in the year. And yet, you know, we were competitive in that game. It's a late run for a depleted team with no bench to speak of. And so the lopsided margin is 15, I think it was, against Duke. And you're like, okay. But this game against BC, it portends of much larger issues is my problem. And I've been telling you both on and off the air, Tom, so I'm going to make it abundantly clear that I'm concerned. I am growing concerned.
For the program?
Yes. Yes.
There's no bell for that.
No, there's a long pause. It's Christian Bale and Kermit. That's what that is. We're just nodding. And it's only because in a moment, but it's not the only moment. It's now the second in the last 3 games moment. There was some quit out there. There was some not try out there. How about that? There was some ole out there, Tom. A whole lot of ole is a better way of saying it.
Okay, so I did some digging about this game behind the scenes.
You did you?
Right. Yeah, this is intrepid reporting on my part.
Okay.
Conti Forum, right? I looked it up. History of Conti Forum.
Yeah.
Location.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in Brooklyn.
No, it's not
in
part of a
Brooklyn.
magical week.
So it's not part of the magical
Thank
week.
goodness we won't have to play in the Conti Forum during the magical week that is the ACC tournament in Brooklyn.
It's a big plus.
Yeah. There ain't no magic coming down the pipe. Magic's not walking through that door. Not the player or the concept or the feeling or the result. It's not happening.
What if we got matched up with Miami? We win our first game and then we play Miami. How much would you care about that one-off game?
I'd watch it because, damn it, we're going to get screwed out of the damn Bohica, and I can't have that.
Oh, the irony.
Oh, I know. I cannot have that. But I mean, I just, at this point, go ahead and go lose that first game out there in
if we're tied, because you'll know the bracket.
Yes,
you'll know
yes.
which game is next.
Call it a day out in Brooklyn. Go through the motions, boys. We got to get to this offseason. We got to heal up. We got to heal up mentally and physically.
Oh, yeah.
We're a broken team right now.
And where do we heal both mentally and physically in
the
this program?
sand pits.
Yep. Send them.
Hit the pits. Hit the pits, boys. We're running in sand from now until you collapse because we're weak physically and mentally. Mentally and physically. The pits will bring it out of you. It'll rise the levels of testosterone necessary to get stronger mentally and physically.
I think I'm going to have to make a graphic of Leonard in the lifeguard chair overseeing the pits. Yeah.
I need to see something because that was gross. It was gross. I can't sit idly by and watch that and say, well, everything's all right. It's just a tough set of circumstances. I'm not saying that, it can't be righted. I'm just concerned that we've entered a realm all of a sudden out of nowhere. I mean, we took a hard right turn when we needed to go left, and it's very disconcerting. You could play we're super effing lost, man, because, I mean, this is a toughie. I don't know what to do. I know that some of what needs to be done is an overhaul of the roster. There are about 3 guys that I'm really happy with. Well, happy is maybe not even the right word. Have high hopes for, feel good about transition from this year to next year and what they'll be. Everybody else, 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you.
If that.
It may very well be you can take it on down the road.
2 fingers to my eyes, 1 finger to the
door. Yeah. That could be a quick conversation where you say to somebody who thinks that, maybe they got a year left. They want to come back. They love the program. They love the culture. They love everything about being amongst their brothers, being led by the great Leonard Hamilton. And then they go in there expecting that Ham's going to have that talk with him. He's going to sell them on what they have to do, tell them how to do it, all that. But instead, Ham, stone cold, Darth Vader-esque, stares him in the face and says, what's best for you is that door. I don't need to see you tomorrow or the next day or the month from now. Not next season. I'll call to check in on your well-being because I'll always love you. But you'll be playing basketball elsewhere.
The program is not as forgiving as I am.
I mean, it would be a time to move along. You're going to have to do a lot. You're going to have to do a lot to overall. Got to get yourself an experienced big. Got to get, all jokes aside, all sarcasm aside, you got a lot of work to do. Because it can't be allowed to slowly build. You don't have that luxury, not for many reasons. One of which is Ham's in the twilight of his career, and you were on the cusp of a Final Four run. Now, COVID robbed you of that, and we'll forever be angry about that. But you also had built this beautiful home court advantage and atmosphere that we all love being a part of. But I also know how quickly that dissipates because this is not a program with a lot of cachet. And I've expressed that numerous times. They also don't spend a ton of money on it. So you can't sustain poor play for multiple seasons or else you fall off a cliff. This ain't Duke. It's not Kansas. Duke didn't make the tournament a year ago, which was stunning, but they're right back where you think they would be because they are a program with great cachet and depth and, McDonald's
commitment.
Yes, correct. So,
roster overhaul isn't cheap, especially with the NIL. Now it's out in the open.
It's true. I want to welcome my friends Shannon and Chad from Hamilton Home Loans. They are on board the Jeff Cameron Show. They joined this week. We're happy to have them. Went out to dinner with those guys, had a long conversation with those guys, got to know those guys, wanted to get to know those guys because I wanted to kind of talk about their philosophy, and they wanted to ask about this show and ask about ours and how we do business and how we work together with people. So we did that, and it could not have been a better experience. And getting to know them via text, phone calls, dinners has allowed for this relationship to build, and I'm happy about that, and that's a good thing. Basically, what I'm getting at with Hamilton Home Loans, FSU fans helping FSU fans. They're like-minded guys who love the FSU community. You know that already. They want to help others find the right loan for their next home. Hamilton Home Loans, a mortgage company that is designed around simplicity, service, speed, all of those things that you like to hear. That is music to your ears. The mortgage process, it can be intimidating. You know that already. You've heard me say that in the ads, the if you will, canned ads, but this is me telling you that Shannon takes every opportunity to make it easy on you, to talk you through it. Great rates, cutting-edge technology, transparent communication. It's a 5-star mortgage experience. You're going to get a different kind of mortgage experience with these guys. I would not have partnered with them otherwise. And that's true, especially if you mention the Jeff Cameron Show. So we welcome Shannon and Chad from Hamilton Home Loans. We look forward to working with them throughout the year. Look them up on Twitter and Instagram and say hello. Thank them for joining the JCS family online at FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
If you know me, you know how I feel about supporting local. You also know that I love dad jokes. So it really bugs me when somebody I know calls anyone other than Paul's Termite and Pest Control. This year marks 50 years that Paul's has been servicing our community as a family-owned business. That really means something. All treatment decisions are made right here, not some corporate headquarters 100 miles away, but right here. Local knowledge means they know exactly when and how to beat certain issues that are unique to our region. All decisions about North Florida made by North Floridians, and being local doesn't always mean small. Paul's is the largest locally owned termite, pest, and lawn company in the region, but you'll always get the small town treatment and quick service also. Paul's offers a same-day treatment guarantee if you call by noon. If you see something in the morning that's not supposed to be in your house, call Paul's and they'll get them all that same afternoon. It's that easy. For the elimination of termites or any other pests, and for a greener lawn too, visit callpauls.com.
Siri, tell me a joke. The past, present, and future walk into a bar. It was tense.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
Our friends at ISF work hard to help their clients solve the future. ISF is an integrated IT and management consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, serving clients all across the country. With the new year upon us, ISF reminds you to create a clear strategy, optimize your process, and modernize your technology to meet all your goals in 2022. For more information, visit ISF.com. That's ISF.com. ISF, solving the future.
Applications, onboarding, payroll, termination. Business owners and managers, you know these are the processes that take away too much time from what you do best. But what if there was a locally owned, responsive solution that would charge you a fraction of the big national payroll companies? Sound too good to be true? It's not. North Florida Payroll Services is Tallahassee owned for nearly 15 years. And in that time, their prices have never changed. The reason North Florida Payroll Services can do that? Exceptional customer service that constantly evolves with the latest technology. From application to termination, for turnkey service for your payroll and HR services, trust a Tallahassee expert and save yourself time and money. North Florida Payroll Services. Online at northfloridapayroll.com.
December 1, 1955, Montgomery, Alabama. A 42-year-old African-American woman stands waiting for her bus ride home. The first bus was standing room only, so she decided to wait. Then, a second bus. As she took her seat in the designated colored section, the bus continued until the white section was filled, and the driver ordered her and 3 others to give up their seats to make room for white passengers. The 3 complied, but she did not. When asked later why she refused to give up, she said, "I would have to know for once and for all what rights I had as a human being and a citizen." The woman was Rosa Parks, whose one simple act of conviction sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, helping to advance the civil rights movement for all Americans. Celebrating our nation's quest for freedom. Whitten Glass on South Monroe. For mirrors, shower enclosures, and window glass, call 222-5781. And Sellers Tile on Capitol Circle Northeast. For tile, carpet, hardwood, and luxury vinyl, call 656-8453.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Didn't know this. It was on Jeopardy last night, Tom. Or the night before last. I can't remember which.
I've yet to watch an episode since Alex passing.
Yeah, we watch. Tom, listen to me. Bryce always wants to compete with me, which I'm proud of him for.
How does he do?
He hasn't won yet, but
Single Jeopardy, maybe though. He could probably.
Oh yeah, he can. Yeah,
nail a
hold his
couple
own.
of
Yeah, he had a
categories.
good run the other night where he knew a little bit more than I would have thought given his age. I was very impressed. He's strong in history, strong in science.
Yeah, science, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, he's really strong in science. He's really good at that. But I didn't know this, and I was really embarrassed that I didn't know this because, well, me being me, it really is embarrassing that I didn't know this. It was a music trivia question.
Okay.
I couldn't believe I didn't
About
know.
Bowie?
Yes. John Lennon wrote Fame.
Oh.
And for Bowie. I didn't know that.
What a gift.
Well, damn it, man. I had no idea. I felt like an ass. I yelled out some erroneous thing, and my son went, Dad.
All right, so real quick, across the universe, it's the Beatles, right? Originally, because there's like 84 versions, and
Mhm.
Bowie plays one of them,
Right.
and it's probably in the Ziggy Stardust album, or maybe it's in Young Americans, either one. But yeah, that's originally a Beatles track. Sometimes you don't know where these things began.
Yes, I believe that.
Sometimes it's a random 50s band, and you're like, oh, okay.
Well,
Tony and the Doo-Wops.
Yeah, that's going to bother me. You're going to make me look it up right now. No, but I
Sorry.
believe that is a Beatles original. Now it's going to.
I got you.
It was written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. That is correct.
Okay.
I
all right.
confirm. You made me second guess myself.
Well, it's on the heels of the Bowie question.
Oh yeah, now I'm like, oh no, oh that of which I thought I knew. Yeah, no,
True
no.
wisdom, Socrates.
Yeah, I know. The method was in place, and here I blew it. Oh boy. Anyhow, that said, moving forward, I saw where somebody, while we were talking about the basketball program, noted that in fact, yeah, thank you, live spectator. He played guitar on the track too. I just can't believe that I've overlooked that all these years. It's just not like me. This is going to eat at me. Okay, so something you should know. Somebody was laughing at us. TR was laughing at us that we were panicking after one bad season with our basketball program. On the surface, that would be silly of us to do. But we're looking at the much more complicated, bigger picture than a singular bad season. You notice that I'm not pounding the desk with my fist in furious anger about this, but rather the implications that are possible for a program that has not sustained excellence during its history, right? You have pockets of successes. And because we're not, and by definition, they call themselves the New Bloods. They know they are not, obviously, a blue blood. And it's much easier if you're Kansas or North Carolina or Duke or whatever. You know, I mean, roll it out there. Roy spent a lot of time towards the end of his career doing not a lot, but rolling it out there and watching North Carolina, despite having superior talent to it, its opponents suck. And that didn't keep them from bringing in really good players the following year and the year after, because they are synonymous with excellence in the history of the sport. They have the kind of cachet that one might describe Florida State football having. And so without it, you don't survive periods of poor play for very long. You can survive a year. Sure, I agree with that. That's okay. They've had a bad season. They've been injury riddled. They missed on some guys, and they put their eggs in the baskets of some pretty high-profile players that chose to go elsewhere, by the way, in the recruiting process. And because they swung and missed on a few guys in the era of NIL, where the game is changing a little bit, they had some setbacks. The problem is, if you look at the next recruiting class, the group coming in, not elite at all. Not to say there aren't some gems there that might emerge, but on the surface, not an elite class at all.
I think the important thing to remember here, too, and we'll see how Leonard attacks this, is how did we get to that level where we thought we were Final Four favorites and maybe a national title favorite? It was a combination of one-and-dones and homegrown players and projects.
Yeah.
And so that's what we need to do, not just rely upon blue chippers to come in and save the program every year over and over again. It didn't work for Coach K, and Calipari's had trouble with that, too. That's not a winning, sustainable method. So you've got to find those lower-level guys, and we did a great job of projecting. I mean, Fee was better than anything we could have dreamed, Kabengele.
Mm-hmm.
But we did a great job of projecting those players that were just not good enough to be taken by the Blue Bloods. But we could work on them here and watch out in 2 years.
Well,
see what
we
they
actually,
become.
and there were a couple of guys we actually beat out the Blue Bloods for.
Right, there's a
too,
combination of the two things, but yeah.
And that, too, has changed now, where, again, how much investment in your basketball program do you have? Because NIL is in play for basketball, just as it is for football. And, you worry about it a little bit. You really do. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's going to, fall off a cliff. I'm not saying that there's no recourse to fix some of these problems that have obviously plagued us this year. Now, you can't predict injuries. I mean, Malik Osborne going down began the unraveling. He was your most experienced and best player. And, right now in the backcourt, you've got a lot of issues. Namely, you don't have much in the way of talent. But what you did have in the way of Anthony Polite was an average to poor season in which he was playing, and then also an injury, and now he's gone. And that hurt because, again, that experience would have helped you and lessened the pressure on others. When you're relying on a guy that ought to be a player who comes off the bench, immediately heat checks, hits a shot, stays in, doesn't hit a shot, comes out. When you're relying on him to play as many minutes as we've relied on that player, and you watch the inefficiencies of his game play out on both ends of the floor in dynamic fashion, it's almost unwatchable.
Right. And if we had PJ Savoy still, we would be lamenting that same thing, because we had the luxury of a PJ Savoy experience years ago. Feels like yesterday, but actually it's kind of far in the rearview mirror where, all right, 0 for 3, you're done for the night. 2 for 3, you're going to play 20 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
Awesome. You're going to give us 18? Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. It's a little frustrating.
It's a disaster of a season. It could be more, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just that.
The problem is, Tom, they're going to probably lose 12 of their last 13 games.
I didn't hear that. What?
12 of their last 13 games is brutal.
Connection.
It is brutal. Just swimming in those waters. It's an ear infection.
Prank caller.
Your first class is always free at Orange Theory Fitness. First month is free if you go out and buy that heart rate monitor, which you should, because you want to see the science working. You want to go, hey, I'm stronger today than I was yesterday. I can run faster and further than I did yesterday. I can see it. It's right there. It's playing out before me. It's a good thing I have this heart rate monitor on. Check it all out. By the way, if you're a current member, refer a friend and you'll save a lot of money on your membership as well. As for me, I love it. I love it because it's science-backed. I like proof. I don't like all this conjecture. I like to see what's real and what isn't. And Orange Theory provides that. Orange Theory Fitness, 2 locations in Tallahassee, one on the north side, one in Midtown. You can join today or go check it out. Tell them that I sent you. They'll say, oh, man, that Jeff Cameron's a hell of a guy. Come on in here and get to running. OrangeTheoryFitness.com.
Your local news now.
Leon County Sheriff's Office is looking to add 40 new members to their team. Tomorrow, they're hiring on the spot for their corrections hiring fair. The beginning salary starts at $37,361. That salary is bumped up to $41,500 after graduation and posting a passing score on the state exam. The hiring fair is happening at the Florida Public Safety Institute. The event starts at 8 a.m. and will end at 7. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement says it has arrested the former executive director of the Miss Florida Scholarship Program on 7 counts of wire fraud. FDLE says it started investigating the case after the Miss Florida program reported missing funds. The investigation showed Miss Wickersham formed a scam corporation called Miss Florida LLC in December 2011. She then used a scam corporation to open a bank account. Wickersham began depositing some donations into the scam account and used the funds for her personal benefit. Agents estimate she stole at least $100,000 in donations. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. High temperatures reach up to 82 this afternoon under mainly clear skies, southwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, lows level off around 59. A mix of clouds and sun. Tomorrow, highs around 83. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Friday, with daytime highs approaching 83. 80 Saturday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 80.
When you are approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Pete Tyson and Preservation Financial Group are here to help you preserve your retirement. The team at Preservation Financial Group can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a comprehensive income plan designed around your needs. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risk before you retire. To schedule a free, no-obligation consultation, reach out to Pete Tyson and Preservation Financial Group today. 850-523-6118. That's 850-523-6118. Or visit them online at preservationfinancialgroup.com.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
You know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jammin' Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
I don't know where to go with this one. It is. We referenced it earlier in the show, but you have a sports icon and who's in real trouble of losing. Well, he's already lost sponsors. He'll lose more in the days and weeks ahead. He's going to end up, I think you look back at this, Tom, and it'll be his undoing from a reputational standpoint for a long time. I wonder. And I'm talking about Phil Mickelson and the deal that he had with the Saudis in order to put pressure on. This is what he said. And by the way, that's part of what he's apologizing for, because his quote came out in which he noted that he didn't really care if the Saudi Golf League actually worked, but he was using it as leverage to put pressure on the PGA Tour. So obviously he was behind the scenes working against. This is the very definition of conduct unbecoming, by the way. So if you want to know whether or not you can be suspended for such things, the answer would be a resounding yes when you're working to sabotage the league that you're working with and for. The league is made up of players. It's the tour. The tour is the players, and the money is reinvested in the players. But he wants more of it. And he had an opportunity to get a lot more of it from the Live Golf Investments and the Saudi Golf League. Now, never mind the fact that that's blood money. And I'm not going to get into the in-depth conversation. That should be self-explanatory. If you don't know of which I speak, go look at it. It's called sports washing. It goes on all the time. It's unfortunate. It's a look over here, look over here. Don't mind the fact that we kill journalists, our own people, et cetera, guilty of human rights violations beyond anything in your wildest imagination. But we're playing golf. We're playing golf. Look over here, look over here. So privately, he was trying to persuade Bryson DeChambeau and many others to other high-profile players to come join this league, to break away from the PGA Tour for what he perceives as grievances that, in his mind, are abhorrent. He accused the tour of obnoxious greed, I believe was the quote at one point. Keep in mind, Phil has made no less than $20+ million a year, dating back over a decade now while on tour. And I think it could be argued was in line to make even more, as he had somehow at the age of 50, now 51, reached the height of his popularity thanks to last year's PGA Championship victory. And what he's done now is obviously ruined his reputation and perhaps any further association with the aforementioned PGA Tour and his ability to host as a Ryder Cup captain, as well as be a lead golf analyst alongside Jim Nantz, which he clearly was auditioning for just a year ago and did a very good job of. He appeared to be the heir apparent to Nick Faldo, whom he depanced in that particular effort on the air.
Very awkward. Extremely awkward.
He was good at it, though. And I would point out that he would be very good at it because his insights to golf have never been questioned and his game sublime.
That was the best part of the match between Brooks and Bryson was Chuck and Phil going back and forth and just talking smack.
Now, if you want to know more about this, there's a lot of stuff out there about his reckless comments and the things that he was attempting to do and his subsequent apology now that it's all come crashing down. And this is the part of the show where we enter into the Jeff Cameron Show PR firm and discuss whether or not the apology itself works from a PR standpoint. And the answer to that is resounding no. Because if in fact an apology is meant to set you up for a future relationship with those that you have harmed and or seek to work with again, this ain't that, my man. This ain't what you do. This is not gonna get it done. Yeah. You want to play it?
That's not what you do.
So you try to atone for mistakes when you apologize, and it's about, again, working with the people with whom you've offended or to whom you've offended, and that ain't going to work here because in many ways, this apology sees him, in his own words, prop up the Saudi Golf League and those that he was working with behind the scenes to sabotage the PGA Tour, but no mention of and an apology to the very tour whom he now seeks forgiveness from. That's bizarre.
And he doesn't really seek forgiveness from them. Who's he apologizing to, do you think, yesterday?
The leaders of the Saudi Golf League, whom he just sabotaged and realized no longer can this work out.
And
his sponsors.
There it is.
Whom he lost.
Yeah, KPMG.
Yeah,
the only reason I know what KPMG is because of him.
Yeah, that was a fruitful relationship. No longer. They said, have a good one, quickly. This isn't a classic case of I think this way about this and you think that way about this. This isn't that. This isn't I believe we should do this or this should be a law or we shouldn't go to war or we should go to war. It's not that. That's not this. This is not cancel culture. This is none of that. Phil himself called the very people that he was working with to create this other league, quote, scary mother blankers, murderers, human rights abusers. Said it. He was knowingly working with those that he just described as such.
Cart before the horse. But then he said, so why would I work with them?
Why should you believe me? Because Cain told me so. That's why you should believe me.
Because I could change the way things work. And if I've got a partner with these people, these murderous, barbarous people in order to get the PGA Tour to give me some media rights, well, then, damn it, why wouldn't I do it? I'd be a fool not to.
Well, you think about that. Why don't you start there? Start with the media rights. One of his gripes was that the players do not own their own media rights. When he played in the match and other such derivatives, right? He wanted to be able to utilize, and Turner Sports or whoever else is going to air it does have to pay the tour money to be able to utilize highlights that, from Phil Mickelson or anybody else that it garnered on tour in tour sanctioned events. This is not a tour sanctioned event. The tour had a right to say you can't play in it. You're not going to do it, but they didn't do that. They didn't squash that opportunity to make money on the side. But they said, if you want to use these highlights, you got to pay us. We own the rights to them. Well, yes. And if you think about the way media rights work, that's how it is in every single league, whether that's the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, and certainly the PGA Tour. And the reason for that is that if a network who spends hundreds of millions, and in some cases, as in the NFL, the NBA, and others, billions of dollars for the rights to broadcast those leagues, those players, right? If those leagues had to then turn around and compete with a Tiger Woods channel, since we're talking about golf, for highlights, and yet Tiger Woods had his own channel because he owned his own rights and just played them on a loop, well, would anybody ever again pay for media rights to the league?
ESPN, in one case, for NFL highlights, pays a separate fee to the NFL beyond the Monday Night Football fee in order to be able to play real-time highlights on SportsCenter, NFL Primetime, and other offerings.
If you were the NFL and you then spent those billions of dollars to be able to not only infuse all of the franchises and the how many partners, we could go on and on for days with all this, with money, and then also to fight lawsuits, also to give to charity. There's no more charitable league in any organized sport than the PGA Tour. It's over 40% of their profits go to charity. Anyhow, that said, imagine then they had to turn around and compete if you were the NFL with a Tom Brady channel. Or,
there's a lot of footage there on that channel.
That's a lot of footage, man. If Major League Baseball had to compete with the Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and name whomever you want to, that's a highlight reel.
Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
It's my hero.
If the NBA had to compete with a LeBron James channel, they could not run LeBron James highlights. He owned his own, and he had his own channel, and the only way you would see LeBron James is if you went to the LeBron James. Nobody would pay the rights for that. They would not pay for, and then the league would be defunct. And unless those players decided they were then going to donate the portions of their profits back to the league so that they could play in the very sport that they've become famous and fabulously wealthy for, you would now see no more organized sports and or leagues.
Or they don't draw a salary. It's like they play for free, but they get their highlights.
Guess what? They're not going to do that.
Right.
None of that would ever happen. And you can go on about this, but I will tell you that one of the things that's problematic is that I think Phil has been very good for golf. I think Phil was in the catbird seat, and if not for this obnoxious greed, of which he's accusing the tour, but is guilty himself, would have been in a great position to be a Ryder Cup captain, would have been in a great position to be a lead analyst and ambassador of the sport that has made him wealthy beyond most people's wildest dreams. And I now think that's probably out the door. Now, as far as apologies go, you have to know what you're apologizing for. It sounds a lot like a guy who wanted to get out in front of something that he knows is about to get much worse. And that's where I'll give the heads up here that this is a failure from a PR standpoint, because he didn't apologize to the right people. But moreover, I think we're about to find out some pretty incendiary things about Phil Mickelson. And it does sound like that will be coming and coming soon.
Well, there's a couple of potential answers of, is he just that greedy that he needs that much money? Or is there something else? Yeah. Because you already have all of this money incoming. You're talking about the areas. He could be paid appearance fees across the country to play in any number of tournaments.
Phil Mickelson wedges.
Right.
He's known as the best short game player in the world. He comes out with wedges the year after he retires from the PGA Tour, and he's fabulously wealthy for days on end.
He can up the prices for all of his sponsors. I'm sure he did before they let him go. He could do broadcasting for a limited run of 10 episodes or 10 tournaments, and he'd make millions of dollars for that. He's got the match, and then he's got exemptions to play in whatever the hell event he wants to. And if he makes a few cuts, I mean, that's the chump change part of the equation for him, is the actual purse that he earns as a player. but he has all these other streams of revenue. So what do you need the extra 150, 200 million for?
Well, he made over $45 million dating back all the way to 2012. In that year, that wasn't the most amount of money he had made in a singular season. It is believed he's made more since. Certainly this past year turned out to be quite a boon to his career, given that he was the oldest to ever win a major. That tells me there are real problems brewing. That if you can make that kind of money and still desperately need more money to the point that you're willing to get in bed with a murderous regime like the Saudi Arabian government, are you kidding me?
And it's much more personal because you could bring up the idea of leagues partnering with certain regimes around the world. See China, and that's a legitimate.
And those concerns were brought up about human rights violations and having the Olympics in a country like China.
And there were cowardly people who fell in line either at the league level or on the player level.
Sure.
And sure, that's fair. That's 100% fair. In this case, though, it's more personal because it's golf and there are fewer degrees of separation with the Saudis than there are with some other regimes. Not to excuse any relationships internationally. Not doing that at all. Gator Kirk asked an interesting question, though, which says, are you saying that pros don't own their own NIL in certain aspects? Does a pro player get a percentage of their jerseys sold? Well, what I can tell you is that when the NFL changed number requirements or they removed number requirements, Dalvin Cook wanted to switch to number 4 right away. NFL said, you got to buy all the jerseys that have your number on it before you can switch.
You have to do that. Yes.
So there's a give and take on that. But think about any endorsement that an athlete does, be it Tom Brady or anybody else. They don't wear their own jerseys unless there's an NFL partnership that goes along with it.
Right.
Like Tom Brady's on a lot of billboards wearing generic clothes or generic football uniforms. So it goes only so far. You have a little bit of control over your own endorsement potential, but you can't wear like Bucs stuff if you're Tom Brady while you're doing it, unless the Bucs are getting a cut or the NFL is getting a cut.
Yeah, and he was, just so you know, he was expressly concerned by and angered over the fact that the tour was that's the other part of this that I should have added to begin with. The tour didn't say that you couldn't purchase the highlights that you wanted to use for the match. It was going to cost him, and it wasn't really going to cost him, but I don't want to get into that, but $1 million. That's all leagues, to your point. That's how they just got done spending billions of dollars to own those rights. That's what they're paying for. They turn around and infuse the tour with gobs of cash to put on tournaments all over the country. There are so many levels to what they're funding in the PGA Tour. Also, by the way, this incredible misnomer that he pointed to that the tour is sitting on $8 billion or some astronomical figure that he said in assets. Do you really think that you could hide hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars and get away with it on an annual basis without being audited? You have to show where this money's going. And the PGA Tour has said repeatedly, we do. There are player reps within the tour that come and sit down and we show where the money goes.
Of all the leagues in the world, you don't want to pick a fight with this one for trying to get into the money because of what is turned around at the PGA level.
It's crazy.
Now, I'm all for calling to the carpet that there is a lot of white-collar nonsense that goes on with a lot of these corporations. That's true, 100%.
Sure.
But
do you think that Phil was out there taking the
No.
hits because he wanted to represent?
correct. That's not what he's trying to do.
No.
And you also have a regime here that if you are a part of the LGBTQ community, you're just going to get beheaded. All right. A little bit different.
Well, we can go on and on about the reasons you'd be beheaded. Yes, there
Oh,
are
anything else.
But he already knows that.
Steal a
He
loaf
said
of bread.
where he is.
If it's good bread.
He admitted as much. What he's upset by is that those quotes came out. He's having to apologize for that now, but this is just the tip of the
But they were
iceberg.
taken out of context. So I apologize for what I was saying, but that was already out of context anyway, and it was off the record. So, I mean, what the hell?
First of all.
Plus, I've signed all these autographs.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine believing? Well, anyway, this is a horrific look for a guy who was beloved, and it's disappointing. It's almost disappointing beyond words. I mean, we could argue again about the, whether it was sincere, all of the smiles and the hugs and the handshakes or not. I mean, that has been argued about with Phil Mickelson specifically for years.
But now that he's trying to use those as receipts to prove the good guy that he is, that tells you that it was always currency. It was always about currency and brand. It was never about doing the right thing by a fan.
Well, what's weird is the quote, "This has always been about supporting the players in the game that I appreciate. All the people who have given me the benefit of the doubt," is one of the things that he wrote in the apology. It's interesting that he said that and sent out that apology at the very moment that the commissioner of the PGA Tour was reiterating that any commitment to the Saudi-financed Super Golf League would see players banned for life. There it is. You want to go straight to picks? Yeah, let's go straight to picks. Go ahead, cue it up.
Hey, Big Daddy, having some Red Russians tonight?
We'll know in about 47 seconds.
Into an open wing. It's picked up by Dowdy, an empty net. He scores.
Hot damn, Big Daddy's done it again. Red Russians all around, Teddy.
All right, Big Daddy.
Clearly mawkish.
This is not to be taken literally.
Well, anybody who does is dumb as a brick, Tom. You don't have to make that stupid.
What is a brick's IQ?
0. Here we go.
So you say. Maybe those are your facts.
North Florida Payroll Services, locally owned for nearly 15 years, offering payroll HR services, including full online applicant onboarding and integration into payroll. Save your company money and headaches today. Head to northfloridapayroll.com. I got a couple for you. I'm going to look towards 2 games, one of which I bet at 6:15 this morning with our mutual friend.
Okay, 6:15. You were on it.
I was ready to go.
Mutual friend was awake, I'm sure.
I took Minnesota +5 versus Wisconsin tonight.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I also looked at Houston -8.5 versus Tulane, Tom. I was looking in that direction as well. A couple to circle and have a little fun with. And by the way, if you want to sprinkle some pizza money, very little pizza money, sorry pizza, like the kind of bad pizza you used to have in college driving home. Oh, this is $5 and I get 2. So yeah,
it's
that,
$5.
That kind of pizza. If you want to do that, Luke Donald +600 on a course he's played well in. It does not require a lot of length.
Only 6-1. That's amazing. What tour is that?
It's PGA Tour. Let's see.
How about that?
He's at the Honda.
I got one for you on the way out. Montreal's playing good hockey right now.
Uh-oh.
You know who their coach is? Marty St. Louis.
That's correct. I forgot.
They just beat Toronto 5-2. You can get a -110 tonight on the money line just to beat Buffalo. I think they can beat Buffalo. Hit that Canadian or hit that Calgary and Winnipeg game earlier this week too.
I'm gonna give you a little Tommy Fleetwood at 27-1. Oh, what am I doing over here? See you guys tomorrow. Peace.